One man, feeling spurned by society, decided to plan and carry out an attack on innocent people in a large scope within the crowded streets of Akihabara in Tokyo. While he knew very well what he was going to do in his plan, he couldn't have expected the chaos and the fallout that would come after. Time and time again, we see stories with similar bullet points. For example, here we have a young man, isolated, feeling neglected by society. Usually they have mental health issues, a terrible upbringing, a toxic community around them, or all three in this case. Let's look into the background and the after effects, not to mention the attack itself, of what has been called the Akihabara massacre. Tomohiro Kato was born into a wealthy family that lived in a nice suburban home in Aomori in 1982. His father was doing well for himself, being a top manager in a financial institution. His mother was a housewife, staying home and looking after both Tomohiro and, after not too long, his younger brother as well. Tomohiro's early life was the ideal sort of childhood that one would wish for. His family was wealthy, he had a good relationship with his parents, and he was doing exceptionally well in elementary school. He had good friends and was one of the top track and field athletes in the school by the time he was about 10 years old. When it was time to enter into middle school, he traded out track and field for the tennis club, still doing fairly well in school. However, this was when his home life took a turn and things started to deteriorate. Both of his parents, but mainly his mother, were putting an immense amount of pressure on Tomohiro and his younger brother to succeed. They were expected to be both top athletes in their schools and get top grades in their classes. Tomohiro's mother would often have him redo his homework over and over and over again until she was satisfied that it would likely impress his teachers. If she felt that even one letter on the paper looked wrong, she wouldn't let him use an eraser.
Man, I hope, like, it's 2024. I hope y'all mothers and shit don't be like that, gang, because that's actually fucked up. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not saying fuck school or no to school, but, like, school ain't for everybody, bro. Like, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Like, school is not for everybody. Yes, school is good. If you're trying to, like, be a major doctor or a lawyer or whatever case may be, or a police officer, it's so much shit now that you don't even have to go to school for just to get in the hospital or be a police officer. You could go to a fucking police academy, be a security guard and get a licensed gun and fucking go to police academy. Like, but, like, don't force y'all kids or nothing like that to go to school, bro. It's not, or I'm not saying don't go to school, you feel me? But, like, once your kid get complete the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, and like, you like, oh, go to college and, oh, go do this is the best thing to do. Like, don't force y'all kids to do that type of shit, bro, because it's really not, that's not cool. I feel like let that kid decide on what they want to do in their life instead of forcing them to do something that they really don't fucking want to do. How many, like, if they want to be a doc and go all that way and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna commit whole, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, motherfucking, college is a scam, bro. But I'm gonna let the video continue out. I just wanted to say that shit because I feel like a lot of people just let they mamas and motherfuckers, mamas and daddies and grandmas be like, oh, go to school, go to college, and just, like, implanting this in our heads. Like, it's mandatory that you got, like, you dumbfounded without going to college and none of this shit. Like, because I know a lot of smart, educated ass niggas out here that didn't even go to high school. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I got a cousin that didn't go to high school and he a motherfucking he's something overseas. Like, he got some business, some type of shit overseas. Like, and it's very successful. Like, no high school diploma, no, went to 9th grade and stopped in the middle of the year. Like, and been working all his life, saved up his money, became a CDO, truck driver, tickets, like, all that shit. So, like, bro, don't let nobody influence you and tell you that you gotta go to school, bro. Just like these rappers, these actors, everybody tell you, like, bro, whatever you put your mind to, bro, stick to that and do it, bro. Like, it's a lot of people out here that don't know what they want to do through the day. That's their problem now. You have to put your mind to something and stick to it. Why you think the rappers and these people that's so successful and millionaires right now to this day? Because they didn't be like, oh, I'm going to rap for a minute, and then I'm going to go chill with the homies, and then I'm going to go do this and that, then I'm going to go fuck the hoes, then I'm going to go do this and that. No, they stuck to their plan. They stayed in that studio. They kept making song after song after song after song after song until that shit pop. Some people just got a real fucking talent, and the first couple of songs might have had just pop for them, but a lot of people stay on that strive. Like, that's just like me. Like, I wanna stream. I wanna do this. This is something I wanna do in life. This is something I see myself doing in the next 3-4 years. So I'm gonna be locked into this shit. But like, I don't do anything else out of the ordinary. I don't go chill and hang. I'm locked in. This is what I wanna do. I got my mind set on what I want to do.
He would crumple up the entire paper and have him start over again from the beginning. Needless to say, she was strict. Tomohiro's mother got more and more abusive over time. When he was about 13 years old, the family was eating dinner together one night when his mother got more upset with him than usual. She gathered up some newspapers, threw them down in the hallway, and poured his rice, soup, and the rest of his food all over them, ordering him to eat it all there like a dog. Tomohiro's father remained silent and emotionless as he ate his food from the hallway floor while crying. The harsh treatment continued to snowball until Tomohiro was forced to stand outside all night in the freezing temperatures as punishment for minor offenses, usually related to studying. This all had the exact opposite effect that his mother had hoped for, and his grades began to suffer. Tomohiro felt that his mother had abandoned him in favor of his...
I'm gonna say this like that too, like, that ain't decent. When y'all whooping these kids and shit like that, bro, my daddy ain't never had to. My daddy ain't never whooped me. It was just that nigga voice and that nigga approachment that scared me to make me want to do. That nigga, when he talked to me, I just cry. Like, you whooping your kids doesn't discipline them into being what you trying to make them to be. Like, that doesn't help a kid once you whoop their asses. Now, you whoop a kid if they do something out of the ordinary, but like some shit, I'm gonna say something like, it's just so many scenarios of whooping a kid and not to whoop a kid, but like, people just whoop kids just off the strength for, I'm gonna teach them a lesson. Like, gang, like, that's not how you, I'm not trying to tell nobody how to raise their kids, but look, that's not how you raise. You can whoop if you notice a lot of people in poverty, a lot of people from the struggle, from the hood, from the trenches, they didn't whoop their kids all now. Look, they gang members, this and that, shooting people, this and that, white people shooting up schools. I ain't saying black people, I ain't racist at all, but like, vice versa, like white, black, Mexican, whatever, like, they do all type of shit. That whooping shit don't help. That shit don't do nothing. They need you, the mama and daddy, to be in a life. It's about what you around that makes the kid. Gang, like, if you got your kid around in that type of status, about hanging around guns, about doing that type of shit, and that's what they gonna be around. Like, then that's what they gonna adapt to. You are what you hang around. That is a true saying. A lot of them sayings that y'all be hearing probably not be real, but that saying right there, bro, I can bet money on that shit right there gonna go to the grave. Bro, you are what you hang around, gang. If you hang around a whole bunch of broke motherfuckers that like to sit around, smoke weed, fuck hoes, talk about hoes, be on Instagram, be on this and that, judging hoes, doing all that, fighting people, you gonna be in the same thing. You gotta be a locked in nigga to be around a whole bunch of niggas like that and don't fumble into the shit that they do. I'm telling you, gang.
His younger brother, who was still doing fairly well back in elementary school. He later wrote, "By the time I was in junior high, my parents were no longer strong enough and they dumped me. However, things could still get worse, and they did. My life went well until I entered high school," he wrote. "After that, it did not go as I wanted." While Tomohiro's grades had suffered a bit, they were still high enough on average to enter into the most academically prestigious high school in the entire prefecture, Aomori High School. He hit his first and perhaps his biggest roadblock when he got a terrible score on his first exam at this new school. He was hit with the reality that he may be in over his head upon seeing how difficult this school would really be. While he may have been a star student at his previous school, that sadly was not the reality here. If anything, he was just average, if even that. One of his high school friends has been quoted as saying, "He told me that he was so shocked that he began to hate studying." While one of his teachers has said, "He wasn't outstanding in studies or extracurricular activities at all. He was really a mediocre student." In competition with the brighter students at his high school and suffering from quite the blow to his motivation, Tomohiro's grades began to plummet. Because of this, he felt like he really was losing his mother for good. All she really seemed to care about was his success, and he wasn't getting it. Whether it was true or just inside of his head, he felt that his mother was slowly losing interest in him and abandoning him in favor of his more successful younger brother. Eventually, both Tomohiro and his younger brother started to turn on their mother. After taking her abuse for so long, they were now big enough to turn the tables on her. A neighbor of theirs has said that she would hear them from time to time beating on their mother. This same neighbor was told by the mother that it was now painful to sit at the dinner table together with them. This increasingly hostile and violent home life didn't do anything to improve his school life by any means. His academic ranking fell to number 300 of 360 students. While he had originally planned to go to Hokkaido University, fairly far off from the rest of his family, he couldn't pass the entrance exams. Instead, he entered into a junior college while he decided what he wanted to do in the future. In his second year, he expressed an interest to enter into Hirosaki University in Aomori to study education and eventually become a middle school teacher. After all, that was the best time of his life, the last time he was really happy. He wanted to go back, even if it were in a different role. However, the examination period to get into that school had already passed. He was too late. Tomohiro decided to give up on academics entirely and focus on another interest, motorsports. He decided he would become a mechanic, enrolling at Nakanihon Automotive College. However, all motivation was basically gone by this point. He skipped classes more often than not, failing to get his mechanic's license in the end.
Want to know how I took my business to the next level? It's simple. It's Shopify.
Tomohiro Kato went to hop from job to job for his entire young adult life, doing whatever he could to get by, usually never staying at one job for more than a few months. He worked at a security company in Sendai and transportation companies in Aomori and Ibaraki. He couldn't seem to settle down or find anything permanent, and as a result, his depression only worsened. Unhappy with his real life, he began to turn to escapism, like many of us do. He was particularly interested in anime and video games, and had been since he was young, but even more so now. He was interested in drawing himself, and often spent a good amount of time online and on his phone, frequenting forums and engaging in the nerdier side of life. However, this wasn't enough to kill the depression. By spring of 2004, he began to send emails to a former friend from school, saying concerning things like, "I have no money and I want to die." Surely enough, feeling that his family had abandoned him and having been in fairly deep debt, Tomohiro attempted to take his own life in 2006 by ramming his car into a wall. He would survive, however, and after not too long he was trying to pick up the pieces of his life once again and continue on, for better or for worse. Tomohiro registered with a temp work agency and soon came to be hired as a temp worker at an auto parts factory in Shizuoka called Kanto Auto Works. He was reasonably happy with this job, so he was shocked to hear that the company would be cutting a lot of dispatch workers' jobs pretty soon. Although his boss told him that he would be safe, he doubted this himself. After all, his confidence was near zero by this point. If anyone were to get cut, he felt it would be him. His depression hit high levels once again, this time with a good amount of shock intertwined. While he was contacting his old friend from time to time until this point, he now stopped answering all of his calls and texts entirely. One morning, Tomohiro went to his usual job at Kanto Auto Works at 6 a.m. to begin work. He was surprised to see that he couldn't find his work clothes in his locker. He flew into a rage, accusing his workmates of stealing his clothes, feeling that they were picking on him. In a fit, he ripped apart the clothes of another worker and left, going straight home. He had already felt that he was going to be fired soon enough anyway, so his co-workers felt that he worried he would be fired for sure if he couldn't find his work clothes that day. They assumed that this is what led to such an intense, out-of-character outburst. They didn't realize it wasn't going to end there. Tomohiro, no longer planning to go back to work any longer, spent the majority of his time online. He was becoming particularly active on a forum called Extreme Exchange, which you could compare to the current idea of what would be called a dark web network. On this forum, people would sometimes look for accomplices in criminal activities, to buy and sell drugs, or even to plan to end their lives together in groups.
What the fuck?
On these forums, and on others, Tomohiro would often complain about his life, especially his upbringing. Not all was horrible though. He did manage to meet a woman on those forums, and he was starting to feel a little uplifted as he talked to her more and more, until she ghosted him. That is. From that point on, he was even more worse off than before. If his mood was at a 0 before, it was now well into the negatives. He wrote, "If only I had a girlfriend, I wouldn't have quit work. I would never have become addicted to my mobile phone. Anyone with hope couldn't possibly understand how I feel. I don't have a single friend, and I won't in the future. I'll be ignored because I'm ugly. I'm lower than trash because at least trash gets recycled."
Damn.
He expressed his disgust at seeing happy people, mainly young couples as well, writing, "I saw a loving couple at a riverbank. I wish they were killed by being swept away by the river." More concerningly, he began to talk about recent stabbing sprees throughout the country, romanticizing them within his posts. He wrote, "Oh, I am hopeless. What I want to do, commit murder. My dream, to monopolize the tabloid TV shows." Ultimately, he fell upon his final goal, writing, "I want to stab people in Akihabara." Akihabara is an area of Tokyo known internationally for being a bastion of nerd culture, featuring anime, manga, figurines, arcades, and maid cafes on every corner of every block. Tomohiro knew the area well, being an otaku himself. He fancied himself as an amateur anime artist, often going to karaoke bars and picking anime theme songs to sing while he got...
No lie, bro. I'd like to go there, bro. That's crazy. That seems like a pretty cool place to go. Like, no cap. Like, the anime shit, like, I love anime and shit, like, little shit like that. Like, the scenery look real good, though. I'd like to go do some shit.
Drunk. Not only that, he knew that the area was always crowded, extremely crowded on some days. Throughout the next few days, Tomohiro would visit Akihabara again and again, scoping out the area in person. One day, though, he took a trip much further out to the Fukui Prefecture. This is where he went to a military supply shop, pulling up at around 12:40 p.m. He wandered around the store for about 20 minutes, eventually coming to settle on buying a telescopic baton and a pair of leather gloves. The store's security cameras would catch him having a chat with the salesman, all while grinning and making stabbing motions. The next day, Tomohiro returned to Akihabara one more time to sell his computer and get some cash. He would use this money to carry out the next phase of his plan, renting a truck, an Isuzu Elf to be specific. Tomohiro knew that if he rented this truck, he would be carrying out his plan the very next day. There was still time to back out, but by this point he wasn't even considering it.
He finna do some nut ass shit. That shit look nice though.
Tomohiro woke up at around 5 a.m. on June 8th of 2008. Shortly after, he was already hitting up some bulletin boards on his phone, writing, "I will kill people in Akihabara, have a vehicle crash, and if the vehicle becomes useless, I will use a knife." His post would continue throughout the rest of the morning. 5:21. Sleepy. Will drive into the crowd, and if the car becomes useless, I will use a knife. Goodbye, everyone. 5:34. I can't get over this headache. 5:35. Rain forecast. Bad. 6:02. I'm used to playing the role of a good man. Everybody is so easily deceived. 6:03. Am I incapable of having friends? By now, Tomohiro had hopped into the truck that he had rented. He was all ready to set out for Akihabara one last time. Even so, his online posts continued. Somewhere deep down, he hoped that someone would come across those posts and stop him, something he admitted to later on. However, nobody did, so he pressed forward. 6:10. It seems the road I plan to take is blocked. After all, everything is against me. 6:31. The time has come. Let's go. 6:39. It seems I'll be battling against my headache. 6:49. And against rain. 6:50. And against time. 7:30. What awful rain, even though I planned everything perfectly. 7:47. Even though it's a smaller scale, I'll do what I decided to in the rain. Shortly after those posts at around 8:45 a.m., Tomohiro pulled up to a coworker's house and handed him a big bag of video games and DVDs, telling him, "I'm going to take this truck out to Akihabara. I'm going to stop there for a bit and then I'm flying out east." While this coworker was confused, he accepted this action as Tomohiro being his usual weird self and didn't think much of it. Tomohiro hopped into his car and continued through traffic, still making posts online all the way. 9:48, into Kanagawa and taking a break. Things are going well at the moment. 10:53, awful traffic jam. Will I make it in time?
Bro, like, is this nigga like, what the fuck? This nigga weirdo. And keep posting all this on a social media site?
11:07, Shibuya. It's awful. 11:45, arrived in Akihabara. It's the day of pedestrians' paradise, isn't it? Just a few minutes left now. By pedestrians' paradise, Tomohiro was referring to a certain practice where larger intersections would be closed to traffic on holidays and on Sundays in order to make shopping easier for the pedestrians. He chose one of these Sundays specifically, knowing that the streets would be full of people. Tomohiro pulled over and took out his phone. He erased everyone from his contacts list and deleted all text and history from his phone. Knowing what he was about to do, he didn't want to burden anyone who knew him with the after effects. At around 12:30, Tomohiro arrived in Akihabara. He pulled through one street that was open to vehicles in order to get closer to Chu-Odori, which was closed for pedestrians. He took a deep breath and slammed his foot onto the pedal, speeding through a red light and hitting 5 people walking through the street with his truck. Shoppers ran from the scene of the carnage, screaming and panicking as Tomohiro continued to attempt to mow people down as he drove. After hitting several people, he continued driving for about 70 meters further east before stopping. Several people had gathered around to attempt to care for the victims who had been hit by the truck and couldn't move themselves. This was when Tomohiro hopped down out of the truck and pulled out his knife. The first thing he did was repeatedly stab one of the men he had just run over only a few seconds prior. He then turned his gaze to the frightened people on the sidewalk, chasing them down while he screeched and roared in a complete frenzy. People began to rush into local shops, yelling at the clerks to call the police. One clerk went outside to see what was going on, only to see panicked shoppers running in all directions. When they cleared, he saw the attacker. By now, he wasn't running any longer. He was simply walking down the street in a strange, hobbling manner while carrying a knife. One police officer who was nearby arrived on scene, confronting Tomohiro. He smashed his baton down on him, but it failed to stop him. Tomohiro did drop his weapon, a 13-inch survival knife, but he continued to run. The police eventually chased him down into a narrow alley where he couldn't escape. One officer drew his gun, and this was when Tomohiro finally stopped. Around 170 meters from the truck, the police tackled him to the ground and threw him into restraints. The entire attack had only lasted 2 minutes. Nearby civilians took out their phones and filmed Tomohiro, his face covered in blood, being arrested and pulled away by the police while bystanders attempted to revive the victims on the ground. Tomohiro was thrown into a police...
Like I said at the beginning though, like, all that shit that mama was doing to him, bro, forcing that nigga to do all that shit for school and all that shit, gang. I ain't saying he did right by beating his mama and all of that, but that's just how much... Like, that's why I say, bro, it's ways that you don't whip a kid because they got bad grades. Like, you don't do no crazy shit like that to a kid, gang. You gotta... That's just too insane, bro. Now look at this nigga, bro.
Police van as paparazzi and pedestrians alike swarmed the car to get some good video of his face. At least 17 ambulances soon arrived on scene in order to care for the victims. Sadly, 5 of the victims had already died then and there. 3 of them had died from injuries related to being hit by the truck, while a further 4 had succumbed to their stab wounds. The victims of the massacre were listed as Kazunori Fujino and his friend Takahiro Kamaguchi, both 19 years old, Katsuhiko Nakamura, 74 years old, Naoki Miyamoto, 31, Mitsuru Matsui, 33, Kazuhiro Koiwa, 47, and one 21-year-old female victim named Mai Muto. Mai had actually lived long enough to place a call to the police from her phone, but she didn't survive long enough to even talk to them or leave any sort of message. In
Damn.
disbelief at what had just happened, people gathered around to pray for the victims and to set up a makeshift memorial to honor the victims where most of the carnage had taken place.
Amazon is overcharging you,
Crazy.
but I can show you how to avoid it. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
On the night of the attack, Tomohiro's parents were shocked to see a swarm of reporters and journalists waiting outside their home. They felt they had no choice but to come outside and make a statement. Tomohiro's father, now a 49-year-old man, told the cameras, "Our son's actions could never be atoned for, no matter how we apologize." His mother, now 53, collapsed on the ground outside upon hearing him speak. She was carried back inside by Tomohiro's father as the cameras rolled. Shortly after the crime, rumors began to spread like wildfire as people struggled to come to terms with what had happened. Trying to find some sort of logic in the attack, many began to say that Tomohiro was actually a member of the Yakuza, carrying out some sort of large-scale organized crime. The police were quick to inform the public that it was actually quite the opposite. He was a loner with no connection to anyone of note. A spokesman for the police said, "The suspect told police that he came to Akihabara to kill people. He said he was tired of life. He said he was sick of everything." Immediately, Tomohiro was
If you, I don't even want to say this, but like, bro, if you tired of life, bro, and like you feel like you didn't need to go hurt other people, bro, go do yourself, bro. Like, I ain't justifying that, but like, I won't want nobody to do that shit, but like, that type of shit he on, gang, go do yourself, gang. Like, cause other people, like, they civilians, bro. Go do yourself, bro. You should have just wanted to go off yourself, bro, and other than harming and doing some shit to other people, gang. Like, that's just fucked up, man. Like, that's just fucked up, man. And I ain't gonna lie, like, for people out there that's really, like, going through depression and really feeling like they trash, they ugly, ain't nobody gonna never want them and everything. Like, bro, it's somebody out here for everybody. If it's something about a girl, a man, or whatever, like, bro, find something to make you happy. Fuck with this is the problem now. Like, everybody be worried about what the next person say. Bro, fuck what somebody else say or think about you. Stop worrying. That's how people be so much in depressed mode and like so much different shit if you going through something and more people just bringing you down, like, get from around them. Like, distance yourself from them, gang, and understand that, bro. Fuck what somebody else think about you, gang. It doesn't matter what nobody else think about you. Find something that make you happy, bro. You ugly, cute, fat, whatever you is that you feel like you low down to the earth, you just depressed and all of this and all that, bro. It's something in this life gonna make you happy because everybody know one day everybody have their day. Clear as that. And I'm speaking because I know how that shit feel to be depressed, to be down, to be dragged, to feel like it ain't shit else to live for. And I ain't gonna like. When I lost my dad, my pops, I felt like that. Like it's nothing else in me that can make me happy. And I had to realize and open up my eyes, bro. I was reading my pop text messages, bro, and he just kept telling me like not even before I found out that he had cancer. This is before he even had the cancer. He was telling me like, bro, get you a PC. And he like, bro, stream, bro. He like, you got that shit, bro. Cause I already had a PC, but I ended up fucking up that PC. He kept telling me like, bro, you good on that game and shit. Like, stick to that shit, bro. Start streaming, nigga. Start streaming. Like, locked in. Like, I got so many text messages, him texting me and telling me like, lock into that shit, gang. Like, do that screaming shit, son. Do that screaming shit. Like, you got that shit. Like, do that shit. Like, I'm like, bro, I am. I gotta get another PC, woody whoop. Like, whole time I'm really bullshitting, though. I really ain't thinking like, do I want to be a streamer? Like, do I really got that shit? Like, do I really, you feel me? Like, but like, this is something that I want to do. This is something that I love. I don't just do this shit for the money. I used to sit on YouTube and watch music and big on music and different shit. And I'm pausing, reacting to it, doing different shit, playing the game. I'm like, damn. I see niggas doing this on stream. Why wouldn't I do this shit in front of people or my own opinion? Nigga, add their own opinions in the chat or whatever the case may be. Like, but yeah, man, let's get back to it.
Charged with attempted murder as one police officer had arrived on scene in time to see him stabbing a woman with his own eyes. He was sent to the Tokyo District Public Prosecutor's office for questioning. Tomohiro told the police that he suffered from mental illness, shocking nobody. He blamed the origin of his mental illness on being told by his mother that he was unwanted. Police felt that this, at least partially, motivated him to carry out the attack. Tomohiro made it no secret that this attack was something he consciously decided to carry out and planned well in advance, telling the police, "I made up my mind to carry out the stabbings 2 to 3 days ago." Even so, the prosecutor's office ordered that he undergo a psychiatric evaluation for the time being. The police were surprised to see that Tomohiro was completely cooperative during questioning, although he wasn't apologetic whatsoever. The only time he tended to show emotion was when he would be questioned about his family, causing him to break out into tears. He would then return to calmly answering any other questions shortly after. The police acquired the knife that he had used in the attacks in addition to another 3 knives and the extendable baton. Tomohiro plainly told the police that he had bought all of that stuff at the shop in Fukui. The police searched his apartment, finding empty boxes that had contained the knives, some receipts for them, and a club that had gone unused. By June 20th, he was once again formally arrested on suspicion of murder for the other deaths, although this was mainly a formality as he was already in police custody by this point. This attack, now dubbed the Akihabara massacre, made headlines all over the world. It quickly became one of the most well-known and, thanks to the mobile phone age, one of the most documented crimes in Japan in recent memory. The attack had occurred exactly 7 years after Mamoru Takuma's deadly attack on an elementary school in Osaka, in which he killed 8 students with a knife. The Prime Minister visited the scene of the attack shortly after the massacre, expressing his fear that similar attacks would begin to occur more and more frequently. After all, this was widely dubbed as the worst mass attack in Japan since World War II. His fears came true as, only days after the attack took place, the police were arresting more and more people who expressed their interest online to commit similar attacks themselves throughout the country, usually on 2channel or similar forums. It became more evident that this attack was related to hikikomori culture, the phenomenon in which young people were becoming more and more isolated, cutting themselves off from society, feeling alone, dejected, and abandoned, sometimes to the point of expressing their hatred of society with violence. On the 22nd of June, a 38-year-old woman pulled out a razor blade and injured 3 other women at Osaka Station. On the 26th, the police had to tackle and arrest another man who pulled a knife in Akihabara. Luckily, this was before he hurt anyone. Soon after, a 19-year-old man was arrested after he made a post detailing his plan to perform a similar attack at the Tokyo Disney Resort. In the end, 23 people were arrested for attempting or expressing intent to commit these attacks, and even more were given warnings. The Japanese government expressed their intent to review their laws regarding knives in public. The Tokyo Metro Public Safety Commission also announced that they would end the 35-year-old practice of closing busy roads for pedestrians on Sundays and holidays while they reviewed safety measures. The practice wouldn't resume for years. The massacre prompted many conversations about the ethics of recording such attacks and posting them online. It was found that 2 people had live-streamed the attack to about 3,000 people while it was occurring. There are no saved copies of these streams, but the media wrote of them extensively. As it usually goes with these attacks, the public began to blame otaku culture, with violent anime and video games once again coming into the spotlight. The video game company, Konami, went on to cancel their launch events for Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots in Tokyo, citing public safety concerns. Certain TV shows and anime at the time began to censor their depictions of knives and daggers, even highly fictionalized sci-fi weapons as well. Some depictions of knives were simply redubbed as swords instead. Access to the Extreme Exchange website, the one that Tomohiro Kato used to make most of his posts, was soon shut down as internet service providers began to work with the police to take it down.
Damn. That nigga stopped a lot of shit, gang.
You're not ready.
Tomohiro's trial went on for years and years, but in February of 2015 he was finally sentenced to death, a sentence usually reserved only for serial killers and spree killers. Now officially a death row inmate, Tomohiro was all set to live out the rest of his days at the Tokyo Detention Center. Tomohiro's family came to suffer as a result of his actions. In 2010, roughly 2 years after the massacre, his father resigned from his job and went on to live in seclusion at a new home in Aomori. He was no longer able to work, both due to his own mental state and his shame. His mother eventually broke down completely and had to be hospitalized for her intense mental health problems.
Damn.
With his mother becoming more and more unstable and his father completely isolating himself, they went on to divorce before too long. Tomohiro's younger brother told the media that his mother's treatment towards him and his brother was nothing short of brainwashing, but he went on to forgive her after she finally apologized for the way she had raised them. That would be the one and only positive.
Like I just said, gang. That it goes off with your parents, how they rate, like you whooping their ass, you doing all that shit over some grades. Gang, you can't make your kids the smartest kids in the world by beating their ass and doing all that crazy ass shit to them, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Positive thing that would come from this for the younger brother. He lost his job shortly after the attack due to his association with his brother reflecting on his company so badly. He couldn't live in the same home for too long either, as the constant media swarm would never really let him be. In that same vein, he couldn't hold a job for very long either, as the media would at some point show up to his workplace as well. Even so, he hadn't given up on hope entirely. He met a nice young woman and became fast friends. At first, her parents were fine with this budding friendship, but they became staunchly opposed once the two fell in love. They refused to allow the two to marry, leading to them breaking up. The younger brother, wanting nothing more than to talk to his big brother one more time, sent him over 50 letters throughout the years. Tomohiro, for reasons known only to himself, didn't respond even one time. Finally, the younger brother went online to write, "Almost 6 years have passed since then, and I have come to realize that I am the criminal's younger brother after all. The perpetrator's family should not be happy. That is the reality. I want to live, but I have decided to give up. There is no reason to live that is better than my reason to die. No matter how hard I think about it, I can't think of any good reason. Is there anything else? If so, please let me know." In April of 2014, Tomohiro's younger brother, only 28 years old, took his own life.
Damn.
Tomohiro was still in prison on death row, keeping to himself, possibly having no knowledge of what happened to his family. He was mostly kept in solitude, not even being allowed to do prison work. He spent the majority of his time in his cell drawing anime and manga characters while writing stories. His artwork did manage to win him an award in the 2017 solo exhibition of expression of death row prisoners, an odd contest held throughout several prisons in the area. Tomohiro ultimately did express a bit of remorse for what he did, saying he, quote, "would like to apologize to those who passed away, the injured and their families." But he also claimed that he had no memory of some parts of the attack and lead-up. On the morning of the 26th of July, 2022, roughly 14 years after the attack, Tomohiro Kato was set to meet his fate. He stepped up to the gallows of the Tokyo Detention Center. Reflecting one more time on what he had done, the life faded from him once and for all as he accepted his punishment. While justice was served, it would do nothing to bring back the victims of the massacre. It would do nothing to bring back his younger brother. The attack was without merit, offering nothing to the world. In the end, Tomohiro didn't even enjoy a sense of revenge against society. He was left with nothing but regret. Now he's nothing more than a dark stain on the history of Japan and a body in the ground.